Hello. Hello, hello. Let me just mute that other audio source so it doesn't accidentally start playing. Hi there. Um, Let me see if anybody's on the chat. Yeah, so this is probably going to be a fairly quick stream. Um, a week ago today, I believe, I had a live stream where I did kind of a long one where I was doing some live observing of with my Seestar. I was capturing a few targets, taking some what do you call it, suggestions from people. And well, this week I I hadn't or I hadn't really processed the photos since then. I had briefly looked at them and kind of we looked at them together on the stream if you were there, but I decided I wanted to kind of go back and start looking at them and seeing, where things that could be improved. And since we're now kind of going into galaxy season, there's different kinds of targets. You don't have some of the same deep sky targets that were visible in the winter, but one of the ones that I imaged a week ago were a couple of globular clusters and some galaxies. And today I was going to look at one of the galaxies and see what kind of improvements we can make to the photo with Siril and GraXpert, which is I'll get into that in a bit, but um, let me go right to it. Hold on a second. Okay. Um, Sorry, this is I've done kind of a new setup here. So let's go to this. Hold on a second. All right. So let us go to the computer. So here is the M3, and this actually doesn't look bad. This was the image that came out of the telescope, and yeah, this one was completely during the live stream. There was a galaxy M63 that I started imaging towards the end of the live stream, and I kept it going for a few minutes afterwards. But this one was completely during the live stream. But this wasn't I didn't have it on the computer screen, so now this is kind of a more magnified view. And I cropped it in slightly um, on the globular cluster itself. Now, the Seestar images are usually 1920 by 1080. This one's approximately 900 by 900. So basically, I mostly cropped off just the top and bottom to focus on the cluster itself. But this was actually the what came out of the telescope. Now, there are some things that aren't as good or that could be improved. Um, for example, there's this the most obvious to me is this big gradient up the middle, this kind of washed out area. And then there's a little bit to the side here and at the bottom maybe some stacking artifacts. Um, the stars could be tightened up a little bit, but I'm not going to get into that today. But definitely we should be able to fix the gradient and kind of improve it a bit. So I kind of did the test kitchen kind of scenario where I had already processed some of these images, and I'll just kind of quickly show you what I'm kind of shooting for today. But the first thing I did is I took all of the sub frames. So this was the JPEG that came right out of the telescope. So it created a fit file the raw file. Also created the JPEG. So this is just a cropped JPEG. Now I took the individual subframes that were taken and I processed them in Siril like I've done on some other videos. And the only difference is some videos I've processed the subframes manually. I've pre-processed them manually. Where I just kind of added all the images to a sequence and I stacked them and registered them and stacked them. I've also used a script in the past, one that is on the Siril website. There is a relatively new script that's Seestar specific. It's not necessarily Seestar specific, but it kind of helps with some Seestar related quirks, perhaps. And I use that with this, with what I'm about to show you. I didn't stack the frames manually. I just used the Seestar Siril script. So this is kind of the first rough pass. Very rough, you'll see. Basically, this was stacked manually. And let me, there. So you can kind of see. This is actually all the individual subframes, no noise reduction applied, just a default stretch in Siril. So there was no kind of tweaking of levels and curves and stuff. So I took that raw result, and again, I cropped it to about the same size. So one thing I want to kind of bring to your attention, besides the fact that the one on the right is incredibly noisy, you can see that remember this is cropped to kind of the same field of view. You can kind of see some stars maybe a little further out of the core. But again, it was just kind of the default stretch, so it was nothing kind of crazy. Now, I want to show you GraXpert, which it's been around for a while, and it has always had these. It's a free program. It runs on Windows and Mac, but it does. Historically, it was used a lot. If you look at the name GraXpert, GRA, I'll include a link in the description after the video, but it basically historically was used to remove gradients, and it still does that. But more recently, noise reduction was added to it, and kind of the to make it fully kind of contemporary, it's of course AI based noise reduction, but it's not just I mean, theoretically, conceptually, it's actually a useful thing where you train the software on astronomy images, and so it kind of knows what astrophotography noise looks like. Anyway, so if you can see, it greatly cleaned up this image on the right. Like these are the image on the left was literally the image on the right, just with the noise reduction run through GraXpert. And a lot of times, sometimes you have problems with noise reduction kind of destroying details, but you can kind of see, like look at these 3 stars right here. You can kind of see them in this one, but they're incredibly faint through the noise, so it didn't destroy them, which is good. Like, same thing with like this little faint star next to this star, barely visible here. There were a few examples when I kind of looked at it carefully where it might have suppressed a star in some examples, but on the whole, I think it's a nice finishing step. So this is the version with noise reduction. So then, and like I say, I'm not going to go through all these different variations. I'll just kind of start with the I'll kind of show you the sequence of processing, and then and then we'll try to recreate it. So I did kind of a manual. I said I used the standard preprocess script, but that's not completely true. I did make some adjustments to kind of try out some things, and I tried this thing called drizzle, which I'm not going to get into that today, but it's a feature that is in um, it's in Siril, and you can use it. So I just wanted to see if it helped. Um, and this one, it was run through the noise processing in and I ran it through GraXpert, but there's still a lot of noise because of the way Drizzle works. So I'm not even gonna look at that one further. So then now I ran the stacking through what do you call it? I stacked it using the script. Um, actually, yeah, I stacked it using the script. I I did the stretch using GFS, not the default uh, stretch, which takes a little bit more time, but we'll do that shortly. And then I ran it through GraXpert for noise reduction, and then I did a final pass where I kind of brought it back in and tried to bring out the black levels a little bit more. And this is the result I got with that. And on the whole, I'd say I'm pretty satisfied with it. Now, the one thing I did notice is the Seestar image was a little more saturated, perhaps. So I ran another pass where I kind of increased the saturation a bit. It kind of made the star a little bluer than I would have liked. Again, like I say, some of these stars are a bit big. I would like to kind of fix those at some point. But on the whole, like we got rid of the gradient. I got rid of the gradient mostly. The sky's very nice and pretty nice and dark. And mind you, this was taken on a very hazy day here in Houston, and the full moon was up. So there were several things working against me, and it was windy. So all things, this was about a half-hour exposure. If you're in a, and I'm Bortle 9, if you're like in a darker sky, it wouldn't take as long. But overall, I'd say I was pretty satisfied with the result. So, and also you can see kind of, again, these are the same field of view. You can see there's actually the cluster, like you can see more stars more clearly a bit further out. So that was kind of the steps. Let's go and actually kind of I'll show you what I did. So again, this was Siril. I'll be doing a video that kind of goes into the details on the scripts, but ask me in the comments if you want information in the short before then. But I've already changed it to the directory. This is M3, and you can see here's all the subframes that were from that night. And then there were a few more from another night, but it wasn't a substantial amount. So let me open that. So we're back in the same directory. Okay. So I am now just going to run the pre-processing script. And this will take a little bit of time. Yeah. So I just realized, I hope I didn't fill up, I hope I had cleared off enough space on my hard drive. Because I've been doing some of this on some external drives. Let's see. So it's processing them. And it finished. All right. Well, that's great. So no issues there. So let's go look at the file. So again, this was with the frames from that from last week, just pre-processed through using the Siril script, the Siril Seestar script. And again, linear mode, you don't see much, but here you can kind of see. Yeah, we've got some oops, I always do that. I hate that. Sometimes, yeah. So you can see, and if we go kind of look at the histogram view, you can see that there's some data here, but really I need a much longer exposure to kind of bring out like some more extended parts of the cluster, because otherwise it ends up too noisy. So this is the initial version. I will just go and let me try to make this about the, oh wait, of course my laptop monitor is blocking that. So I'm gonna try to do it the size I had made it. The other ones, they were about 900 by 900 and centered on the cluster, and then crop it. And then I'm just kind of magnifying it on the screen so you could see it. And then all I did was run background extraction, and I mostly let it kind of do the work for me. I usually sometimes like let it calculate the sample points, and then I just try to deselect things that I know might be problematic, like stars. But that's probably okay. But let's also try to get rid of some of the gradient down here. And let's compute the background. And yeah, it's fine. It's noisy, but that we'll process it. We'll handle that later. And then we go back to this mode, to linear mode, and then we start let's see, can I yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually I had seen something where somebody was talking about like some of the new methods are amazingly effective at just bringing out detail. I mean, like some of this stuff is just kind of inconceivable a long time ago. I mean, not that long ago. And what I find interesting is like the sensors have gotten much better. I mean, higher megapixel, but also like lower noise and faster and just, yeah, better. But I feel like a lot of the software techniques, I mean, the fact that you can, with these, with CMOS sensors, you can take so many short exposures and then combine them. And if you use calibration frames, even more so, you can just kind of get rid of a lot of noise and just bring out like an incredible amount of detail with telescopes that realistically, historically, were fairly modest and in less than ideal conditions. I mean, like this was shot in my backyard, or badly light polluted with a full moon. So do the first stretch of GFS. Just kind of get that. Doing that. I mean, this won't be exactly necessarily what I showed, but hopefully it'll be close. Yeah. So I'm trying not to clip yet. And so I was just let's kind of zoom in a little bit here. Just kind of picked a sample and kind of bringing that in a little bit. Yeah, let's apply that, and let's pick a further out point. Again, I mean, honestly, I didn't spend that much time on the oops. Actually, I want to do this first. Yeah, okay, good. So I'm starting to bring out. Now, granted, I'm going to lose some detail in the core of the cluster, but I mean, I think with more data, I could do better. Let's try to get something really dim here. See if I can bring that out. Oops, I keep doing that. I always mean to do the stretch factor first. Yeah, okay. Now I'm bringing up some of the background, but I'm going to try to fix that later. Oh yeah, that's getting better. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe. Let me bring up the original one, not the ones I processed before, but like sometimes I'll look at this just to see how I'm doing versus kind of what I consider realistically the baseline. Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep going. So we'll try to pick more areas here. Sample that. Bring that up. Yeah, I'm really crushing the center of the core, but and sometimes I'll just kind of slide this while I'm doing it. See if that makes a difference. It didn't. So it's a lot of times it's just a matter of finding what trade-off you're most comfortable with. And if I wanted to spend more time on it, like you could process kind of the outer areas and the core separately, and then kind of composite them together in a program like GIMP or Affinity Photo or Photoshop. But I'm not doing that. Sometimes it's interesting. It like I'll click here, but that was still selected, and so yeah, I think I'll just do that some more. Maybe bring that up. Like I say, I'm kind of crushing some of the detail on the core, but I'm kind of interested in getting too much. Excuse me, I'm definitely interested in getting a bit more. I don't want to make the background too bright. No, I forgot. So, this is a good point to just. Oh no, see, I'm already clipping that. That's fine. So yeah, let me see what that looks like versus the baseline. I mean, I have more core. I've lost some detail. Not super thrilled with that, but again, I don't want to drag this out too long. But yeah, so I've got that, and what do I want to do next? Do I want to do the noise? Trying to remember if I mean, sometimes I think I want to do the noise reduction first. So I am just going to save this out, and I am going to call this stretched. Helps if I can kind of reaching around the microphone. Don't want to bump it. Okay, so this is the stretched version. And now we can go into GraXpert. And like I say, this is available for Mac and Windows. There's some other noise reduction software out there. There's one I've wanted to kind of show on the channel. Is it AstroSharp? It's bundled for Windows. You can get it running on Mac, and I've wanted to kind of do that, but then and I still will, and that's being actively developed. That's an interesting one. But so we'll load the image, and like I said, you can do the kind of the cropping in here. You can do background extraction. I've kind of been playing around with doing some of the steps in here, and then some in Siril. Like I actually let me see if I can bring that image up. I ended up with I ended up doing the background extraction in I ended up doing the background extraction in GraXpert and then loaded it into Siril, did the stretching, the GFS stretching. But I ended up with more noise, and so I need to play around with that some more. Is that the one? Actually, that doesn't. No, that isn't the one. Please bear with me. I ended up having several variations. And I was trying to, oh, okay, here it is. Yeah. That wasn't the one. Because this doesn't actually. There was one that I did that it ended up with some significant artifacts. No, I think this was the one. It wasn't actually too bad. It hasn't had some of the other some of the processing some of the others had, but I basically did the stacking in Siril, did the gradient removal in GraXpert, and between each step you're like exporting the image and then kind of loading it up. And so I then loaded it into Siril to do the stretch and some of the color work, and then I ended up loading it back into GraXpert to do the final noise reduction. But I wouldn't necessarily that's like an extra step, and it didn't seem significantly better. So, and I believe some of the gradient removal in Siril is anyway. It's oh hey. Yeah, so about that, yeah, try with clusters. You may try running StarNet after background extraction to make starless and star, then just work on the star mask, then stretch. I need to try it again, but since it's all just stars, like when you do it with a nebula, it pulls the stars out and you have just the nebula. And I thought I'd try this to see if the star extraction process would let me kind of tighten up the stars and some other stuff. My first attempt at it ended up crushing a lot of the stars. Like I could make them smaller, but it was at the expense of a lot of them disappearing, which was kind of defeated the purpose in the case of a globular cluster. But I need to try it again. And I definitely want to try it again, and I want to do probably a follow-up video on it when I come up with a better kind of combination of steps. But so let's go to the denoising. So it has these AI models, and the first time you go through the program, it'll ask you if you want to download the models. You have to go in here and say, like in the case of denoising, oh, they have a new model. Hey, I haven't tried this yet. Let's try that. Like it literally, the last time I ran it, it didn't have 1.1. One thing is the denoise strength was set to 0.5. I found best results with this image at 1, but your mileage may vary because my skies are terrible, and I always say that, but they are terrible. So this is what happens when you run it, and you pick a model that it hasn't used before. So let's just go ahead and do that. It'll take a little bit. I'm just looking at the. I have a little widget which talks about how fast the network download is. It's not downloading particularly fast, but yeah. So once this is downloaded, I'll apply the noise reduction, and then I'm going to export it back out of GraXpert, bring it back into Siril, and then do a couple of more adjustments to it. At least that's the plan. Hopefully, whoa, that's not good. The good thing is I'm not streaming through this computer, so even if this computer starts struggling, it shouldn't cause any problems. Famous last words. I wonder if when that model came out, because it's taking a while. And my connection is, yeah, it shouldn't be this slow. So yeah, let's see how quickly this downloads. I know when I did some of the tests, it took a while. I wonder. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just wait a little bit for that. If you're watching this after the stream's over, you might want to forward over this part while it's downloading. The beauties of or the joys of testing out some software live. I shouldn't say testing it out. Testing out a new version live. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's going so slow. Because my internet connection's pretty fast, and I'm sitting in the room with the access point, so that shouldn't be an issue. Let me have a drink. Root beer. Man. Now, to be fair, some of these models are pretty sizable. I don't know how big this model is specifically, but apparently it's not small. I may end up having to, if this takes too much longer, I may just kill it and restart it with the other model. I'll just go back to this model maybe, if it'll let me. Yeah, I did try it. I need to try it again. Because my initial, and I only tried it on one photo, to be fair. So I need to try it with another photo. I only tried it on this photo, actually. It is refusing. I think I may just, hold on. I'm just going to attempt to stop it. There we go. I ended up just, supposedly I stopped it. Yeah. It's always, moral of the story is don't download an updated model during a live stream. Okay. I basically force quit the app. All right. Let me make sure it's still on the old model. Okay, it's back on the old model. Let's load the image. Stretched. All right. Oops, why is it? Didn't mean to. I don't know why it's. Anyway, denoise. Now this also does take a little bit of time because it's, I don't know, loading the model into memory maybe, but the existing model. All right, almost done. And yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, so you can look at the original. Actually, it's a lot better. Yeah. And if you look at, I like looking at kind of the fine detail. So I try to find, so like this series of stars where there's like some brighter ones and some, yeah, and you can still see them in the denoised version. So that's good because sometimes the denoising ends up destroying detail because of the way it works. So we'll go save, and I changed this by default. It wanted to save it as TIFF. I save it as fits, and we'll go back and let's see. It appends GraXpert, and there we go. So now I can go in to Siril, reload this image into Siril, and all I ended up doing with this, I didn't, I mean, you don't need to do this, but I ended up kind of boosting the color saturation a bit here. Oh, one thing I forgot I did, I also did green noise. I think I may have done that before I ran it through the noise reduction. The idea being that I wanted to try to make the colors more neutral, so the noise reduction wasn't like amplifying certain things. I also didn't boost the color saturation before I denoised it. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, but my thought was if I try to do the denoise after increasing the color saturation, I might have increased some of the saturation of the noise itself, which my thought was I should do it after I denoise. Anyway. And then finally, I went into GFS and kind of tried to tweak it a little bit more. Just trying to bring out. Oh yeah, there you go. See, look, nice. Getting a nice kind of crispy background. There we go. Without clipping. Oh, clipped. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I want to be so ambitious to, whoa, oh, I forgot to apply. Let me apply, go back to GFS. Do I want to do any more GFS work? Oh, yeah, look at that. Got some more core detail. I mean, well, I shouldn't say core detail. I'm getting more detail in some of the stars, but I am crushing some of I'm definitely crushing the middle there. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a trade-off. And then, you can get more detail if you do all right. So, yeah, so you can see I kind of yeah, I think it's not too bad. Like I say, you can do a composite where you you either spend more time in GFS and try to separate the kind of the inner stars from the outer stars, and kind of, it would be nice if you could mask some of it a little bit more easily, or you could just kind of process it for the inner and outer core and kind of composite things together to try to get more detail in the core. That might be a project for another day. But I think I'm reasonably satisfied with that. So I'll go with, um, so saturation and levels. All right, let's try this. Save this, and then I'm going to save it as a PNG. I've heard people call them ping files, but I don't. For some reason, I have to call it a PNG. And let's see how it compares. Our little experiment here. All right. Okay. Yeah. So let me, oops, get rid of Siril. Sorry. And get rid of GraXpert. And so this was this the earlier one that we processed? No, this is the one. What was the one? I always love it when this is the one I think I just processed. Yeah, so let's look at this versus the one I showed you earlier. Which was this one. Okay. So yeah, I got pretty close. Sorry. Yeah, got pretty close. Great. The only, and yeah, it's an improvement over the original. Like I say, it's got definitely a lot more. I mean, it's cropped the same field of view, or is more extensive. Yeah, and a lot less noisy. Yeah, like down here, you don't see like some of these color artifacts here. That's gone. The gradient's gone. And so, yeah, that is it. Hold on a second. But yeah, so that's all I did. That's all I did is kind of ran it through Siril, did a little bit of tweaking, and ran it through GraXpert to remove the gradient, then brought it into Siril to kind of like make the background even more, even darker. But yeah, that's all I had for today. I just wanted to kind of show. I haven't shown GraXpert before on stream. Like I say, it's a relatively new. It's a relatively new functionality that was added to it. So I'll probably do some more videos on it, standalone videos, maybe some live streams as well. But hope that was helpful to people, and you can kind of see, yes, it is possible. That said, the out of camera photo under very challenging conditions was pretty reasonable. And yeah, thank you. But yeah, the out of camera, the out of telescope result is very good, given the very challenging environment. But you can make it even better with just a few minutes of work in Siril and GraXpert. If you have any questions, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will probably be doing a live stream on Friday, Friday evening. So if there's, yeah, that noise reduction is really nice. I've used some other noise reduction software a while back. Like last year, I was using PixInsight, and I think it was Noise Exterminator. It produces really nice results, but it's not cheap software. And so yeah, you're right, Tom. It's quite remarkable for free software, and it just I need to try out that new model to see if it doesn't how it differs from the model that I ran through. This was the 1.0, and the 1.1 was the one I tried to download. So, and plus, I am kind of curious to try experimenting with using GraXpert for some of the other stages, uh, like as uh, yeah, as Eric mentioned about using the AI method for background extraction that's in GraXpert now. Um, so I need to play around with that some more. But if you have uh, advice or uh, advice or kind of what your experiences were using it, again, add a comment to the video, and let's help each other. um, but yeah, thanks for joining, all of you. And if you're watching this afterwards, again, like, subscribe, and I think I'll leave it at that. I'll see you all in the next video, and until then, I actually might have clear skies tonight. I might. It rained heavily this morning, but we'll see. But hold on. Yeah, okay, sorry. Um, I've changed my setup, but I need more windows and more screens. But anyway, until next time, thanks and clear skies.